Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. On the docket for today is a green ceviche, a ceviche verde. And I'm going to be making this particular version of it with some gorgeous sea scallops. These are ones from Hudson Canyon, and this is what we use in our restaurant. But you could use any kind of sea scallops that you could lay your hands on, but then you're going to need to cut those into small pieces, or get some bay scallops. If you're not a scallop lover, then you could make this with some fish chopped up, but you always have to look for absolutely the freshest fish for this, what you would call sashimi quality, or you could do it with some beautiful shrimp. Now, be sure every time that you work with any kind of animal protein to wash your hands really well after you have used that. I use a flexible cutting board that I can put into the dishwasher if I want, or scrub down, instead of working directly on my countertop with that. Now we're going to do this as what we would probably call an express ceviche, because we're not really going to marinate this fish, well, these scallops, long enough for them to really change textures, because I love raw scallops. But you'll choose what you want to do here. I've got a half a cup of lime juice that I'm going to pour over there. Of course, freshly squeezed lime juice is what we're really looking for here. Stir that so that you can see that basically the scallops or your fish or your shrimp are floating freely in the fresh squeezed lime juice. And then I'm just going to set that aside while we make the green adobo. Now, when I was, I'm going to say probably this is 20 some years ago, and I was up in Jalapa in the state of Veracruz. It's the state capital there. And I was at a small restaurant which was super delicious called La Campana. And that was the first place that I'd ever had a green ceviche. Most of us know ceviche to have basically the ingredients that would go into a pico de gallo, tomatoes and onions and green chile and cilantro. But this was all green herbs with green chili. So I came home, started doing some investigation on that, and came up with this green adobo that we're going to be working with today, which is just a mixture of roasted garlic and green chili with two herbs that they use a lot in Veracruz. I've got some cilantro here, an average sized bunch, which is what I think this is, and I cut off all of the stems there just to make it easier to work with. I'm going to give this a rough chop and then put it into the blender jar here. Now we've got some parsley. A lot of people say parsley in Mexican food, it's always supposed to be cilantro. They use a lot of parsley, flat leaf parsley in Mexico. If you're going by weights here, you're looking for about an ounce of cilantro and about an ounce of the parsley. I'm cutting deep into it like this, so that I have cut out all of these really tough stems here. I've seen a couple more of them that I want to get out of there because they won't blend nicely in this. So I'm going to scoop this up and put that down into this. Okay, next thing we have to talk about is that roasted green chilies and roasted garlic. So I have already roasted these guys, and I did them in a dry skillet. And then I let them cool off. This is 4 serranos. I love this made with the serranos. So I'm going to chop those up roughly as well and put them into the blender jar. And then I've peeled most of this garlic already. I got a couple of them here still to get out of the papery house. Once they have gotten completely soft on the inside, then when they're cooled off, you'll be able to peel that papery skin just right off of it like that. But the garlic should be completely soft. Let me see if I can pry this other one. This one's kind of sticky here, and you may find that if you've roasted your garlic really well. Okay, now we've got all of that. in there. I'm going to add a measured amount of salt here. And the reason that I'm adding a measured amount of salt is that this is a seasoning paste. We're making quite a bit of it, but you'll be very happy to have this in your refrigerator because it'll last for months in there. And you can add a real fresh, herby, spicy deliciousness to a lot of things, from scrambled eggs to pasta dishes. I use it in both of those all the time. Okay, so we've got everything in here except salt and olive oil. Olive oil is going to be our medium for the blending. Sort of think about it in that regard as like a pesto. And I'm putting 2 heaping teaspoons of salt in there, and a cup of olive oil. You could do this in a food processor, but it won't get quite the same texture. I actually like the texture better in a blender. Put the top on, and then I'm going to turn it on, and it'll take a minute for it to catch. Okay, you can see what I mean. It took a minute for it to start to catch there, but I'm actually, with this high-speed blender, it comes with this pushing stick here, and this will help me to just keep it going. If your blender doesn't have anything like that, then you'll just stop it and start it every once in a while and just stir it again. That's all I want this to blend. I want it to have some texture of the herbs in there. So let's take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to just use a spatula to pull this out and show it to you. A little bit of texture still there, but it has blended pretty well. Okay, now we're going to finish up this ceviche here. Stir it really well. Yeah, it looks really beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to need about 1/3 cup of this mixture, but what would you do with the rest of it? I always recommend that you put it into a well-sealed container, a little bit more of that, and then pour a little bit of oil on the top of it to keep it completely sealed off from the air. Okay, now stir this all together here. And we have a couple other things to add to this all green ceviche. I'm going to put in some chopped cucumber. Now this was those little pickling kind of cucumbers. The ones that you can get at the farmer's market, I think they have the most cucumber-like flavor, and they're super fresh, really nice. So if you have a farmer's market that you go to, I highly recommend that you use that. Otherwise, you could use any kind of a cucumber, and it will be delicious in here. And then a whole lot of avocado. So I have already scored some avocado. Oh, let me just show you how you do that here. Okay, so I always get the pit out just by lodging the end of my knife into the pit and then twisting. And then with a knife, I'll go in here and just score one direction and then flip it around and score the other direction. And since these are Hass avocados that I'm working with here, they have a tough skin, so I can just go in and scrape right up against the tough skin and scrape that in there. Like I said, I like a lot of avocado in this, so I'm putting 2 avocados in here. We started, by the way, with a pound of scallops. And then the next thing that we have to do is to mix this up and taste it, because we have to see if we have enough salt that was derived from the little bit of the green adobo that we put in here. I can tell you right away, though, that it's going to need just a little bit more. I'll use this spoon to taste. Now, one of the things that you always have to think about when you're making anything with a lot of lime juice in it, as it can really trick your taste buds. And you could think, oh, it has plenty of salt, when really what you're tasting is acid. So go little at a time, add a little bit more salt, and see what happens. See how the flavors are changing there. Okay, now I'm going to show you a presentation here, but I have to go and clean up some lettuce that I have from the garden, so I'll meet you right back here when I get that washed off. Okay, washed and dried lettuce. For this particular serving of ceviche, I'm just going to arrange some of these lettuce leaves here on the bottom of what I would call like a pasta bowl, a small pasta bowl. I like to emphasize how herby and beautiful this is by putting some lettuce here. Now, you don't have to do that. You could just serve this in small cups and let people enjoy it that way. But I just thought it was really pretty to just spoon this green ceviche, the ceviche verde, into the middle of these just very fresh lettuce leaves. Here, break that apart. Ah, nice. Okay. And I tell you that there is no more refreshing ceviche than this one because of all of the herbs there. Now, I would serve it with, I like tortilla chips with it. In Mexico, they would probably put saltine crackers out with this because they love that kind of crunch with it. But I'm going to serve mine with these tortilla chips here. I think you're going to love this. Provecho.